Hello Islamic friends, meet again with the One Verse channel. Before we continue, it would be good for us to support this channel by clicking the subscribe, like, comment, and share buttons. Jad, the Jew who devoted his life to spreading the teachings of the Quran. About 50 years ago, somewhere in France, a 50-year-old old man named Ibrahim. He owns a shop that sells Muslim food. His shop is located in an apartment complex inhabited by a Jewish couple with their 7-year-old son Jad. Every day Jad will go to Ibrahim's store to buy all the daily necessities ordered by his mother. And every time Jad would take the chocolate in the jar sold by Ibrahim. Jad will make sure Ibrahim doesn't see what he's doing first before taking his favorite chocolate. That's what he often did before leaving Ibrahim's shop. One day after buying the essentials ordered by his mother, he forgot to take the chocolate before leaving the store. Jad was surprised because he thought all this time Ibrahim didn't know what he was doing. "I'm sorry, sir. Please don't tell my mom and dad about this," Jad begged. Ibrahim replied, "It doesn't matter. What is important is that you must promise will not take anything in this store without my permission, and whenever you want to leave the store, take the chocolate. It's your right." Jad was happy and promised to ask first before taking it from Ibrahim's jar. Time passed and years changed. Ibrahim grew older and was considered a father and best friend to Jad, the Jewish child. It had become a habit whenever Jad was troubled, he would come to Ibrahim for advice. Every time Jad told him about his troubles, Ibrahim would take out a thick book from his drawer. The book was given to Jad and asked him to pick any page at random. After Jad opened it, Ibrahim would read 2 pages from it to the end. Then he closed his book again and began to give his advice and give solutions to the problems Jad was facing. That's how time passed. When there was a problem, Jad would meet Ibrahim, an old man who did not have a higher education. Magic box. 17 years have passed. Now Jad has become a handsome young man aged 24, while Ibrahim is getting older, 67 years old. Abraham was finally called God. Even so, before he died, Ibrahim bequeathed his magical box to one of his children to hand over to Jad. In that box, Ibrahim kept a thick book that he often read to Jad every time he came to complain to him about a problem. Ibrahim wanted his children to hand over the book to Jad as a final gift from him. Jad only found out about Ibrahim's death when his friend's son came to hand over the box containing the will to him. For a moment, Jad was stunned. His body trembled, and his sadness was hard to describe. For him, only Ibrahim is the only one who can solve the problems he has faced all this time. After this, there is no one else who can help him if there is a problem. Ibrahim is his true friend, who is considered like his own father. Days passed. Every time he was faced with a problem, Jad would be reminded of Ibrahim. Now all that's left is a small box. The box is also always opened. Inside is a thick book that Ibrahim always reads every time he comes to complain about his problems. Slowly, Jad tried to open the book, but it was written in Arabic and he did not know how to read it. His heart struggled to know what was written in the book that Ibrahim always read. The book was brought to one of his Tunisian friends. Jad did what he often did when he was with Ibrahim, which was to pick a page at random when he came to ask for advice. Then his friend was asked to read the 2 pages that had been chosen earlier. His Tunisian friend continued to read the 2 pages that Jad had chosen and then explained their meaning. It seems that what his friend explained was exactly in line with the problem he was facing at that time. Then Jad tried to explain the problem he was facing, and his Tunisian friend had solved it based on the sentence that was read earlier. Jad was shocked and stunned for a moment. His feelings were full of question marks, and he couldn't wait to know about the book he had just read. "What book is this, really?" his friend replied. "This is the Quran, the holy book of Muslims." Jad frowned. From the corner of his heart, a feeling of disbelief arose, but at the same time, he greatly admired the book. Once again, Jad asked, "How to become a Muslim?" His friend replied, "By saying the Shahada and following the requirements of the Sharia." Without hesitation, Jad continued to recite Shahada in front of his friends, and now he became a Muslim. Jad became a Muslim. Now Jad has become a Muslim. Then he changed his name to Jadallah al-Qurani. His name is taken in conjunction with the Quran, and his infinite respect for the holy book which has answered all the problems he has faced throughout his life. Since then, Jad has decided to immortalize his whole life by spreading the teachings of the Quran. Jadullah began to delve deeper and really understand the content. From there, he continued his preaching throughout Europe and succeeded in converting 6,000 Jews and Christians to Islam. One day, Jadullah opened the Al-Quran that was given to him by Ibrahim. Suddenly, he saw the folds of the world map tucked inside the Quran. The world map was opened slowly, and his eyes remained fixed when he saw the map of the African continent. At the end of the map, there is Ibrahim's signature and a piece of verse quoted from Surah An-Nahl, verse 125. Call to the path of your Lord, O Muhammad, with the wisdom of wisdom and good teaching advice. Jad is convinced that the order is from Ibrahim and is determined to fulfill the request. After some time, Jadullah left Europe to preach in the African continent, including Kenya, South Sudan, where the population is Christian, Uganda, and surrounding countries. Jadullah succeeded in converting millions of people from the Zulu tribe to Islam, not including other African tribes. Jadullah al-Qurani is a wise Muslim, a true preacher who devoted almost 30 years of his life to expanding Islam to the African continent. Millions of tribes inhabiting the African continent have been successfully converted to Islam in his hands. He died in 2003 after suffering from illness at the age of 45 while he was engrossed in preaching. Islam because of morality. This is also the story of Jad's mother, who never approved her choice to become a Muslim. His mother was a fanatical Jew, highly educated, and a university lecturer in France. He never gave up on returning Jad to his original religion until Jad closed his eyes. But God's guidance stopped in his heart when he was 70 years old, which is about 2 years after Jad's death. From the first day Jad declared himself a Muslim, his mother never approved. Various efforts were made to return the child to his original religion, which is Judaism. With knowledge, intelligence, experience, and ability, all efforts are mobilized to remove Jad from Islam. But his efforts for 30 years were in vain. Jad remained with the stance that Islam is the best. Unlike Ibrahim, only an old man without higher education, but able to soften Jad's heart, because Islam is the true religion. Always playing in the mother's mind, why did Jad embrace Islam? The Quranic table gives a very meaningful answer. Jadullah said, Ibrahim, who was known for 17 years, never called him, "Hey, infidel." What else called him, "Hey, Jew"? In fact, Ibrahim never even mentioned Islam in front of Jad, let alone invited him to Islam. Imagine, for 17 years of friendship, Ibrahim never once taught or mentioned Islam to Jad. It is too far to discuss about Islam or Judaism. The friendship takes place on the basis of sincerity and the true meaning of friendship. Ibrahim, a simple old man, never invited Jad to discuss religious issues, but he knows how to win a child's heart, so he only recited the Muslim morals brought by the Quran. That's the only way Ibrahim used to lure Jad to Islam. That happened after his death. This story is confirmed by Dr. Safwat Hijazi, a famous Egyptian dawa, who once participated in a seminar in London to discuss the Darfur problem. The problem is not only a matter of hunger, but finding a solution to the problem of Christianity. That's where Dr. Safwat met with one of the chiefs of the Zulu tribe. When asked about his conversion to Islam, whether through Jadullah al-Qurani, the man denied it, but he admitted to embracing Islam through someone who had been converted to Islam by Jadullah al-Qurani. Subhanallah. I don't know how many people of the African continent have been converted to Islam by those who have been converted to Islam by Jadullah al-Qurani. And Jadullah al-Qurani himself embraced Islam at the hands of an old man who did not have a higher education but had impressive and sincere Islamic morals. Preaching with morals. The story of Jadullah is a true story that should have a deep impact on us. In addition to the state of the world today, where the bond of faith is so loose, where Muslims no longer pay attention to the way of dawa recommended by the Quran, it is so easy to throw the word infidel, insult more, accuse others of misguidance, call others heretics, swear, spread slander when they are all Muslims. Remember the persistence of the preachers to spread monotheism and Islam to non-Muslims. But why today those who were born Muslim so easily declare infidels and accuse shirk? Aren't we only qualified to judge based on what is seen externally? When it comes to inner matters, let God judge it in the afterlife. We are never directly instructed to pierce the heart of every human being to measure the level of a person's faith. If today we find someone is a kafir, it is not impossible that one day God's guidance will come to him and he will embrace Islam. Remember the story of Umar al-Khattab, who was hostile to the Messenger of Allah at the beginning of his apostleship, but God gave him guidance and he embraced Islam. It is not impossible for a Muslim if Allah removes guidance from his heart and he dies as a kafir. Na'udzu billahi min zalik. Hopefully it won't come to that. This is just a piece of the story about Jadullah al-Qurani, which has been quoted from the writings of Sheikh Ahmad Effat and has been translated into English by Al-Ikhwan al-Mujahidun, a student of Islamic law at Al-Azhar University, Cairo, Egypt. The Jewish jihad has converted millions of people to Islam. Somewhere in France about 50 years ago, there was a 50-year-old Turkish man named Ibrahim. He was a parent who sold food in a food store. The store was located in an apartment where one of the residents was a Jewish family who had a 7-year-old child named Jad. Jad, the Jewish child, almost every day comes to the shop where Ibrahim works to buy household necessities. Every time he is about to leave the shop, and Ibrahim is considered careless, Jad always takes a piece of Ibrahim's chocolate without his permission. One day after shopping, Jad forgot to take some chocolate when he was about to go out. Then suddenly Ibrahim called him and told him that he forgot to take a piece of chocolate as usual. Jad was shocked because he thought that Ibrahim did not know what he had been doing all this time. He immediately apologized and was afraid that Ibrahim would report his actions to his parents. It's okay. The important thing is that you promise not to take anything without permission. And every time you want to leave here, take a piece of chocolate. It's yours, Jad said as a sign of agreement. Time passes, years change, and Ibrahim, a Muslim, now becomes like a father and close friend to Jad, the Jewish child. It has become Jad's habit when facing problems. He always comes and consults Ibrahim. And every time Jad finishes telling his story, Ibrahim always takes a book from the drawer, gives it to Jad, and then tells him to open it randomly. After Jad opens it, Ibrahim then reads 2 pages from it, closes it, and begins to give advice and solutions to Jad's problems. A few years passed, and those were the days that Jad spent with Ibrahim, an old and uneducated Turkish Muslim. 14 years passed. Jad is now a handsome young man of 24 years old, while Ibrahim was 67 years old at that time. Once upon a time, Ibrahim finally died. But before he died, he had kept a box that was entrusted to his children, where in the box he put a book that he always read every time Jad consulted him. Ibrahim made a will that his children would later give the book as a gift to Jad, a Jewish youth. Jad only found out about Ibrahim's death when his son gave his will to give him a box. Jad was shocked and very saddened by the news, because Ibrahim was the one who had always provided solutions to all his problems, and Ibrahim was his only true friend. Days passed. Every time he was troubled, Jad always remembered Ibrahim. Now he only left a box. The box that he always opened, inside it was stored a book that Ibrahim used to read every time he came to him. Jad then tried to open the pages of the book, but the book contained Arabic writing and he could not read it. Then he went to one of his Tunisian friends and asked him to read 2 pages of the book. Just like Ibrahim's habit in the past, who always asked him to open the pages of the book randomly when he came to consult. The Tunisian friend then read and explained the meaning of the 2 sheets that he had shown, and it turned out that what his friend read hit exactly into the problem that Jad was experiencing at that time. Then Jad told him about the problem that was befalling him. Then his Tunisian friend gave him a solution according to what he read from the book. Jad was shocked, then with great curiosity asked, "What book is this?" He replied, "This is the Quran, the holy book of Muslims." Jad was a little in disbelief, but also amazed. Jad then asked again, "How do you become a Muslim?" His friend replied, "Saying the Shahada and following the Sharia." After that, and without any hesitation, Jad then recited the Shahada, and he now embraced Islam. Convert 6 million people to Islam. Now Jad has become a Muslim. Then he changed his name to Jadullah al-Qurani as a sense of respect for the book of the Quran, which is so special and able to answer all the problems of his life so far. And since then, he decided to spend the rest of his life to serve spreading the teachings of the Quran. Jadullah began studying the Quran and understanding its contents, continuing with preaching in Europe until he succeeded in converting 6,000 Jews and Christians to Islam. One day, Jadullah opened the pages of the Quran, a gift from Ibrahim. Suddenly, he found a page depicting a world map. When his eyes fell on the picture of the African continent, Ibrahim's signature was visible on it, and below the signature was written the verse, "Invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good instruction. Call humans to the path of your Lord with wisdom and good lessons." Kanas Innal 125. He was convinced that this was Ibrahim's will, and he decided to carry it out. Sometime later, Jadullah left Europe and went to preach to African countries, including Kenya, southern Sudan, where the majority of the population is Christian, Uganda, and the surrounding countries. Jadullah succeeded in converting more than 6 million people from the Zulu tribe to Islam. This is just one tribe, not including other tribes. End of life schedule. Jadullah al-Qurani, a true Muslim, a genuine preacher, spent 30 years of his life since he became a Muslim, preaching in arid African countries, and succeeded in converting millions of people to Islam. Jadullah died in 2003 after being ill. At that time, he was 45 years old. He died while preaching. The story's not over yet. Jadullah al-Qurani's mother is a fanatical Jewish woman. She is an educated woman and a lecturer at a college. Her mother only converted to Islam in 2005, 2 years after Jadullah's death, when she was 70 years old. The mother told that, while her son was still alive, she spent 30 years trying with all her might to return her son to become a Jew in various ways, with all her experience, knowledge, and ability. But she could not influence her son to return to being a Jew. Jews. While Ibrahim, an old Muslim who is not highly educated, was able to soften his heart to embrace Islam, this is because Islam is the only true religion. The question is, why did Jad, the Jewish child, embrace Islam? Jadullah al-Qurani said that Ibrahim, whom he had known for 17 years, never called him with the words, "O infidel," or "O Jew." Ibrahim never even said, "Enter Islam." So speak to him with gentle speech that perhaps he may be reminded or fear Allah. Then speak to him, both of you, in gentle words. Perhaps he will remember or fear. Imagine Fir'aun, who is clearly a kafir, cursed. But when preaching with people like him, he must remain with gentle words without mentioning that he is a kafir cursed. So are we living in the world today who are more Islamic than Prophet Moses and Prophet Harun? Or is there a person who is more infidel than Pharaoh, where the Quran records his infidelity to this day? So what is the reason for us not to use dawa with the method of the Quran? Namely with wisdom, good advice, and discussion using strong arguments, but still polite and courteous? So in dawa, what we need to pay attention to is how we can easily convey the truth of Islam. Therefore, if we now find someone who is an infidel, it could be that at the end of his life, Allah will give him guidance so that he will convert to Islam. Wasn't Umar bin Khattab once also hostile to the Messenger of Allah? But God wanted something else, so Umar got guidance and finally embraced Islam. Then if there is a Muslim now, it could be that at the end of his life, God will remove guidance from him until he dies in a state of disbelief. Na'udzubillah summa. Na'udzubillahi min zalik. Because in fact, the first sin committed by the devil is pride and arrogance and feeling himself the most holy so that he does not want to accept the truth of God by bowing in respect to the Prophet Adam, alayhi salam. Therefore, it could be that God takes away guidance from a high-minded Muslim and gives it to a humble infidel. Everything is impossible for God. Let us defend the Islamic faith that we have embraced and never mock or gnaw the faith of others who have also embraced Islam and become monotheists. We are brothers of the same religion. Reminding each other is good. Protecting the beliefs of fellow Muslims is good. Let us always fight shoulder to shoulder for good things.